roaring engines, nail-biting overtakes, and unexpected twists. The first half of this Formula One season has been nothing short of electrifying. From the season opener in Bahrain to the last race before the summer break, we've witnessed intense battles, strategic masterclasses, and a few shocking surprises that have kept fans on the edge of their seats. In this video, we'll take a look at all the highlights, the standout performances, and the drama that's defined the championship so far. Buckle up as we take you through a high-octane recap of Formula One's thrilling first half. Let's start with a spectacular turnaround that was a special win for not just McLaren and Norris, but Formula One as a whole. At the Miami International Autodrome, Lando Norris won his first ever Formula One race in style, cruising to victory over the championship leader and his good friend, Max Verstappen. From a disheartening 17th in this race last year to a thrilling first place this season, Norris's victory isn't just about crossing the finish line, but crossing into a new era of McLaren's racing prowess. His fist raised in triumph, signalling McLaren is here to challenge the status quo. So what's behind this big shift in performance? The MCL38 has been outfitted with an ambitious upgrade package, focusing heavily on aerodynamics and car setup. With a new floor and side pods integrated, these are designed to slice through the air more efficiently, reducing drag and enhancing downforce. This strategic upgrade gave the car a significant step towards the Red Bull's pace, setting the stage for what's to come in future races. During the initial practice sessions, hearts raced as the MCL38 only managed a 16th place. However, by race day, the narrative had flipped. McLaren's ability to refine and optimize the car's settings overnight underscores a team that's not just reacting but anticipating, learning quickly from every lap, and leveraging every bit of data to edge out the competition. Looking ahead, the circuits lining up in the F1 calendar could play even more into the strengths of the updated MCL38. While Miami was a testbed, other tracks with their unique demands on aerodynamics and speed will be the true battlegrounds. The engineering insights and data harvested from Miami are now a blueprint for upcoming races, where McLaren might have the edge on circuits that demand what the MCL38 can now deliver more efficiently. And what does this mean for the Constructors' Championship? Currently sitting third, McLaren is pushing to leap Ferrari. With each race, they are narrowing the gap to the frontrunners, bringing a mix of tactical brilliance and technical evolution that could help them catch Ferrari and perhaps even Red Bull. As we wrap up today's analysis, one thing is clear. The F1 landscape is witnessing a transformation, and McLaren is at the heart of it. With strategic upgrades and a team that's rapidly adapting to the evolving demands of the sport, McLaren is pushing to make big moves this season, so keep your eyes on the track and your expectations high. The race is back on. So let's get started. Adrian Newey's career in Formula One has been nothing short of spectacular. With an impressive 7 years at Williams, 8 at McLaren, 19 at Red Bull, and a tally that includes 13 drivers and 12 constructors' titles across the 3 different teams, his influence on the sport is profound. Since his arrival at Red Bull, the team has seen an era of dominance, clinching multiple championships and over 100 Grand Prix victories. But as we come to the end of this significant chapter, the question on everyone's mind is, what's next for Newey? One of the most tantalizing prospects is Ferrari, a team synonymous with F1's rich history and prestige. Newey joining forces with Ferrari, potentially alongside Lewis Hamilton, could be the biggest story of 2025. The combination of Newey's design prowess and Hamilton's driving expertise may be just what Ferrari needs to end their championship drought. This isn't just idle speculation. Many inside the paddock see this as a fitting next step, one that could lead to a historic championship win, providing a fairy tale ending to 2 illustrious careers. But for those of you who appreciate a good story of revival, how about a return to Williams? It's where Newey first made his mark in Formula One. With Williams currently rebuilding under the leadership of James Vowles, Newey's return could catalyse a return to the front of the grid, reviving the glory days. It's a narrative full of nostalgia, but also a plausible strategy for success, considering Newey's ability to transform teams. Then there's Aston Martin. Under the ambitious leadership of Lawrence Stroll, Aston Martin has been rapidly transforming their facilities and team to match the top players of F1. Newey has previous experience with Aston Martin through their Valkyrie road car project, which could make this a seamless transition. With Stroll's drive and Newey's technical acumen, Aston Martin could very well become the new powerhouse in Formula One. While Ferrari, Williams and Aston Martin make compelling cases, we can't discount other teams like McLaren, Alpine or Haas. Any team would leap at the chance to add Newey's expertise to their roster, especially with significant regulatory changes on the horizon in 2026. Newey's knack for innovation could be just what these teams need to disrupt the established order at the top of the sport. And then there's the wildcard option, retirement. Newey has hinted at a desire to sail the world with his wife, Amanda. After decades of high-pressure environments and relentless competition, stepping away to a life of exploration might be an alluring choice. But knowing Newey's passion and ongoing curiosity for engineering and design, retirement could just be another chapter of innovation, albeit in a different setting. Wherever Adrian Newey goes next, his legacy in Formula One is secure. His designs have changed the face of the sport, and his genius has inspired countless others. As 2025 approaches, all eyes will indeed be on this titan of motorsport to see where he applies his formidable skills next. Let's start at the beginning, not in Formula One, but at Nürburgring in 1984. In a race designed to showcase Mercedes' new saloon, Senna, a fresh face amidst seasoned champions, dominated the track, taking P1 and cementing his name in the racing world. Winning this race was a masterclass in precision and racing intelligence, announcing Senna's arrival on the global stage. Our next moment takes us to a rain-soaked Monaco in 1984. Here, Senna's genius in adverse conditions shone brightly as he piloted his Toleman from 13th to an astounding second place. On a track where overtaking is notoriously hard, this race was a statement, still in just his first year on the scene. Testament to his unmatched skill, particularly in wet weather, a prowess that would become a hallmark of his career. 4 years later, at the same storied circuit and in his first year with McLaren, Senna dominated qualifying like never before. His pole position was more than just a lap. It was a symphony of man and machine. Out-qualifying his teammate by 1.4 seconds, after the session, he described the experience as transcendent, saying, "Suddenly I realized that I was no longer driving the car consciously. I was driving it by a kind of instinct." 1988 was a year of dominance for McLaren, and Senna was at the heart of it. The penultimate race at Suzuka defined his first championship win. Overcoming a stalled start in pouring rain, he showcased why he was the master of wet races, charging from the back to clinch the victory and his first world title. Moving on to 1990, in an interview with Sir Jackie Stewart, Senna articulated his racing philosophy, confronting criticism about his aggressive driving style. His response? A candid insight into the mindset that drove him to push the boundaries of racing, revealing the depth of his commitment to victory. Perhaps no victory was as sweet or as challenging as the Brazilian Grand Prix in 1991. At his home track, Senna faced a gearbox that locked him into 6th gear, yet he held on, winning in front of his home crowd. The physical and emotional toll was evident as he crossed the finish line, a moment of pure triumph etched in the annals of Formula One. In 1992, against the technically superior Williams, Senna's defensive skills were on full display at Monaco. Keeping Nigel Mansell at bay, he used every trick in his vast repertoire to secure the victory. This was a masterclass in defensive driving, demonstrating his strategic brilliance and his relentless will to maintain the lead. Our final moment brings us to Australia in 1993, for what would be Senna's last race victory. Mercedes is at a crucial juncture, hunting for a worthy successor to Hamilton. While there have been flirtations with Max Verstappen and considerations for Carlos Sainz, Hamilton's bold backing of the rookie Kimi Antonelli presents a fascinating strategic shift. Historically, Mercedes has favoured experienced drivers, making this potential decision all the more intriguing. Kimi Antonelli, who turns 18 this August, has been making waves with his impressive testing sessions in Mercedes' 2021 and 2022 machinery. Recent tests in Austria have shown his potential and adaptability, indicating he could be ready to step up to the highest level sooner than expected. These sessions are part of an extensive evaluation by Mercedes to gauge if Antonelli can fill Hamilton's seat. Antonelli's journey in Formula 2 has been up and down. Skipping Formula 3 entirely, he jumped straight into F2 with Prima, facing a steep learning curve. Despite his relative inexperience and Prima not in their best form, Antonelli has held his own, currently ranking 9th after 3 weekends. His 4th place finish in Australia's sprint race is a testament to his growing talent and the potential Mercedes sees in him. Toto Wolff has been methodical in nurturing young talent. Wolff's strategy mirrors the successful development of George Russell, who was loaned to Williams before returning to Mercedes as a mature and well-rounded driver. With the 2026 regulation changes on the horizon, Mercedes aims for stability and continuity, making the decision to potentially back Antonelli a calculated one. Let's place Antonelli's potential promotion within the broader context of the F1 driver market. The driver market is buzzing with activity, Alex Albon has committed to Williams, while Fernando Alonso and Carlos Sainz have their futures up in the air. The endorsement of Antonelli by Hamilton puts him at the forefront of this dynamic market. This move could signify Mercedes' shift towards investing in young talent, especially as the team might not have championship-winning expectations until the major reset in 2026. Kevin Magnussen is currently at the centre of attention for the F1 stewards. He's just 2 super license penalty points away from a full race ban. Over the first 6 races of the 2024 season, Magnussen has managed to accumulate 10 points, and with the threshold at 12 points, he's on thin ice. The situation reached a critical juncture during the Miami Grand Prix, where a collision with Logan Sargent triggered a race-altering safety car. This incident not only disrupted the flow of the race, but also aided Lando Norris in securing his maiden F1 victory. The race stewards were unequivocal in their judgment, assigning Magnussen a 10-second penalty and 2 additional penalty points, thus bringing his total perilously close to the 12-point limit that triggers a race ban. Magnussen's perspective on the penalty point system is quite clear. He believes it needs reform. He voiced his concerns by saying, "The fact that I'm at risk of a race ban for driving outside of some white lines on a piece of tarmac, I don't know if I feel that that is right." He acknowledges the rules as they stand, but argues that with an expanded race calendar, even minor infractions can lead to severe consequences, potentially necessitating a review of the system. Contrastingly, George Russell supports the stringent measures in place. He highlights the importance of maintaining discipline on the track, noting the rarity of race bans compared to the frequency of red cards in football. Russell stated, "Maybe a race ban is a bit harsh, but things shouldn't go unpunished." He believes that while race bans are severe, they are essential in preventing drivers from committing unpunished infractions, thereby ensuring safety and fairness in the sport. The Monaco Grand Prix is one of the most prestigious races on the Formula One calendar. However, this year's event proved disastrous for Esteban Ocon. On the first lap, Ocon attempted a risky overtake on his teammate Pierre Gasly. This maneuver led to a collision that nearly flipped Ocon's car and damaged Gasly's. Alpine's team principal, Bruno Famin, was quick to express his disapproval, describing Ocon's move as an attack on Gasly. The incident not only cost Alpine valuable points, but also raised questions about tensions within the team. Famin's reaction was understandable. He warned that there would be consequences for Ocon, a statement that has now left many speculating about the French driver's future. Gasly's frustration was evident as he vented over the team radio, further emphasising the discord. The aftermath of this incident has resurfaced old memories of clashes with former teammates, leaving everyone questioning Ocon's place in the team and casting shadows over potentially his entire career. Renowned F1 pundit Martin Brundle didn't hold back in his criticism of Ocon. He noted that Ocon's irrational red mist when racing against teammates has been a recurring issue. Brundle's assessment is harsh but reflects the sentiments of many in the F1 community. His inability to maintain harmonious relationships with his teammates is seen as a major flaw, one that could jeopardise his future in the sport. The immediate consequence of his actions in Monaco could be severe. There is speculation that Alpine might bench him for the upcoming Canadian Grand Prix, a rare but possible punishment in Formula One. Such a decision would not only impact Ocon's standing within the team, but also his prospects in the driver market. With his contract set to expire at the end of the year, Ocon's aggressive tactics not only risk his position at Alpine, but also his appeal to other teams. His management by Mercedes and his status as a Mercedes junior suggest potential opportunities, but no front-running team would tolerate his current approach. Although he is a candidate for seats at Mercedes, Haas and the new Audi F1 project, we will have to see if this turns prospective employers away. In Friday practice, Mercedes had an average session, but so did everyone, with lots of rain and a shortened session. But then came that staggering final practice session on Saturday morning. Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion in need of a resurgence himself, put in a lap time that was simply out of this world, in the words of team boss Toto Wolff. A scintillating 1:17.5 laid down a huge marker, with Hamilton's long-run pace prompting Wolff to describe it as stratospheric in its brilliance. Compare that to Max Verstappen on the same run later in the session, a 1:17.8. While the data suggests Hamilton just shaded it, what we don't know are the fuel loads. If the Brit could pull off those times with race levels of fuel, suddenly those stratospheric claims from Wolff don't seem so hyperbolic after all. You're no doubt wondering, what was behind this resurgence in Mercedes' pace? Well, it's centered around their new front-wing philosophy introduced in Monaco for George Russell, and now for both drivers in Canada. This new concept has helped cure the balance woes that have plagued the W15 all year, allowing Mercedes to finally unlock the potential in their car that they knew was there. As McLaren boss Andrea Stella admitted when studying the onboard footage, their front end looks very strong. They have the potential, and they're starting to learn how to use it. The front wing worked in tandem with other upgrades to find a better compromise between low and high-speed corner performance. No longer was the car a handful, unstable and unpredictable through long-sweeped bends and chicanes. Finally, Hamilton and George Russell could start attacking curbs and pushing to the limit. When it came to qualifying, Russell took a brilliant pole position, a 1:12.0 dead heating with Max Verstappen, but earning the Britain P1 for setting the time first. It was Mercedes' first pole since Hungary 2022 and a landmark result after a barren run. Of course, while taking pole position was a landmark result, finishing third and fourth in the race itself was still somewhat disappointing for a team as desperate for victories as Mercedes. For all their progress, they left Canada having once again missed out on tasting champagne from the top step of the podium. But there was a palpable sense of optimism radiating from the Mercedes camp. A feeling that after spending the past 18 months wandering in the performance wilderness, they had finally found their way back onto the path towards the front of the grid. As Toto Wolff put it bluntly, "Since Imola, we've taken the right steps and put parts on the car that are working, something that we were struggling with in the past couple of years. Now we seem to be adding performance every weekend." You can expect that positive trajectory to continue at the Spanish Grand Prix and beyond. While Canada provided their first taste of the gains from the new front-wing concept, the updates won't stop there. Mercedes have a major new floor upgrade in the pipeline for Barcelona. This will be the next step in their bodywork revolution, another piece of the puzzle to maximize the awesome potential that appears to have been trapped within the W15's stubborn chassis all this time. Coupled with further weight reductions and refinements across the car's philosophy, it could well provide another major unlocking of lap time. If Mercedes can land this next batch of upgrades successfully, continuing the upward curve of their development rate, it sets up the tantalizing prospect of the Silver Arrows finally being able to unleash the full force of a package that has been over 18 months in the making. Rumours are swirling that the Italian marque has secured Newey's services in a 3-year contract brokered by his friend and manager, Eddie Jordan. If true, this blockbuster move could mark the beginning of a new era of dominance for the prancing horse. Just before we get into the video, we'd really appreciate it if you like, comment and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Anyways, let's get into the story. According to former colleagues like Mark Preston, who worked alongside Newey at McLaren, Ferrari emerges as the frontrunner to secure the services of this design maestro. The Italian team possesses several key elements that could entice Newey, forming what Preston calls all the pieces of the puzzle. At the heart of Ferrari's appeal lies a formidable engine program, one of the most potent and technologically advanced in the sport. But that's not all. They boast a roster of top-tier drivers, including the fiery Charles Leclerc and the addition of the indomitable Lewis Hamilton from 2025. A tantalizing prospect for any engineer seeking to push the boundaries of performance. Beyond the drivers and engine, Ferrari's allure for Newey extends to its substantial resources and a talented engineering team. Preston believes that with this combination, Ferrari has all the pieces of the puzzle to attract what some are saying is the most valuable person in the sport. Imagine the possibilities if Newey's genius were to marry top drivers, a strong engine program, the capable leadership of team principal Fred Vasseur, and a pool of talented engineers. This dream team would undoubtedly create a formidable force and a new challenge for Newey's next chapter. The potential partnership between Newey and Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari is generating significant buzz in the paddock. Former F1 driver Gerhard Berger, no stranger to the Scuderia's inner workings, predicts that this collaboration, coupled with the talents of Leclerc and Vasseur, could usher in a new era of dominance for the Italian team. Berger's words carry weight as a 10-time Grand Prix winner himself. He understands the potent combination of outstanding drivers and cutting-edge engineering. With Newey's design prowess and Hamilton's skill behind the wheel, this quartet could create a juggernaut that would be formidable opponents for the rest of the grid. But what makes Adrian Newey so invaluable, so coveted by the biggest teams in Formula One? The answer lies in his ability to push the boundaries of aerodynamic design and innovation. Newey's cars are masterful examples of engineering brilliance, combining cutting-edge technology with a deep understanding of how to extract every ounce of performance from the regulations. His attention to detail is legendary, with every component meticulously designed to work in harmony, creating a well-oiled machine that dominates on the track. Newey's designs aren't just fast, they are marvels of efficiency, balancing power with precise handling and stability. It's this rare combination of technical genius and a relentless pursuit of perfection that has made him the most sought-after designer in Formula One history. As speculation surrounding Newey's next move intensifies, reports from sources claim that the legendary designer has already signed the lucrative 3-year deal worth a staggering $105 million with Ferrari. According to these reports, the deal was brokered by Newey's good friend and manager Eddie Jordan, as far back as April 29th, just 2 days before the announcement of Newey's departure from Red Bull. However, Jordan has denied these rumours, setting the record straight in no uncertain terms. As the rumour mill continues to churn, one thing's for sure: in a sport where everyone has an opinion and a penchant for speaking out of both sides of their mouth, silence is deafening. Newey's decision will undoubtedly have far-reaching consequences for the balance of power in Formula One. His unparalleled design expertise and a proven track record of delivering championship-winning cars could tilt the scales in favour of whichever team secures his services. The impact of Newey's genius combined with Ferrari's resources will be huge. Let's start with Sainz's other major option for 2025, Audi's factory team. The rebranded Sauber operation. Any works drive at a premium manufacturer like Audi would normally be a no-brainer for an elite driver like Sainz. Except there are mounting concerns that Audi's F1 project is floundering behind the scenes, even before they've turned a wheel in anger. Respected German publications have reported that Audi are miles behind developing their 2026 power unit to the level of benchmarks like Mercedes and Red Bull's units. There have been rumours of political turmoil within their boardroom too, with suggestions Audi's entry could even be scrapped amidst management changes. For a driver in Sainz's position, betting his career on an undercooked Audi project that may never fulfill its undoubted potential could prove to be a catastrophic mistake. This brings us to Williams' intriguing proposition to the Spaniard. We know from sources that the team, under the fresh leadership of James Vowles, have put a lucrative 4-year contract on the table for Sainz. But importantly, it contains a get-out clause allowing him to leave after just 2 seasons if Williams' revival doesn't go to plan. In essence, it's a gamble, but one with a crucial safeguard. Williams have high hopes of hitting the jackpot with F1's new technical regulations for 2026. And their ace card is a deal to receive the latest Mercedes power units, tipped to be the best in the field. We know all too well how the right engine at the right rules reset can transform a team's fortunes. Just look at 2014, when Williams went from scoring just 5 points using the outgoing Renault engines in 2013, to finishing third with over 300 points thanks to the new Mercedes hybrid units. With Toto Wolff's troops widely regarded as producing the most powerful and reliable engines over the past 2 decades, there's a growing feeling they'll ace these upcoming regulations too. If Williams can pair that punch with a decent chassis, thanks to the efforts of seasoned technical chief Pat Fry, who has revived the fortunes of multiple teams in the past, then a renaissance could well be on the cards at Grove. That's a tantalising prospect for Sainz, because while the first 2 years at Williams will undoubtedly be a struggle, a short-term sacrifice may allow him to seize the golden ticket back to the front of the grid when the 2026 overhaul shakes up the competitive order. His gamble would be striking at the precise moment Williams are ready to mount their comeback. You might be wondering why Sainz isn't seriously considering Mercedes for 2025, especially with Lewis Hamilton leaving. The simple answer is that Mercedes' priority appears to be signing Max Verstappen, and if that doesn't happen, they have 17-year-old Antonelli to fill the seat. At 29 years old, Sainz still craves a team built around his talents as the clear number 1. He was hesitant to commit long-term at Mercedes as an undisputed number 2 driver. With George Russell, or potentially Verstappen, set to lead their project, Mercedes are looking for a more malleable teammate who will subjugate their ambitions to the senior driver. For Sainz, that proposition holds little appeal at this stage of his career. He knows his next move has to put him in the best position to fight for a world championship. Joining Mercedes only to play second fiddle doesn't align with that goal. And let's not forget the value for Sainz of being truly unshackled on the driver market. Signing that mega-money Audi deal over multiple years would leave him with little room to maneuver if, as expected, that whole operation hits teething issues early on. With Williams, he can keep his options open, ready to pounce on any surprise opportunities that may suddenly present themselves when the championship landscape evolves. After a challenging year so far, the 7-time world champion emphatically declared this the best weekend I've had all year. Let's take a look into the details behind Hamilton's long-awaited return to the podium and what it means for the remainder of the 2024 season. Before we get into the story, thank you for tuning into the video. We'd really appreciate it if you like, comment and subscribe to the channel. The race in Barcelona didn't start ideally for Hamilton, with a sluggish getaway seeing him drop from third on the grid to fourth. However, the Briton refused to let that setback derail his weekend. Displaying the grit and racecraft that have become his hallmarks, Hamilton meticulously worked his way back up the order, executing a series of bold overtaking maneuvers. Perhaps the most electrifying of these was his daring lunge on Ferrari's Carlos Sainz at turn 1 on lap 19. With the two cars making light contact as Hamilton forced his way through, Sainz fumed over the team radio, claiming the Mercedes driver had ran him off the track. But Hamilton didn't agree, defending the move in his post-race comments. "I think it was clean. Ultimately, he didn't fully cover the inside line. He was still on the track, so I left him space, as much as I could." This unflinching determination exemplified the renewed vigour Hamilton has rediscovered in recent races. For a driver of Hamilton's stratospheric achievements, going nearly 8 months without a podium finish was an unfamiliar and undoubtedly frustrating experience. His last top 3 result came way back at the 2023 Mexican Grand Prix, a staggering 236 days prior to Barcelona. So when he finally climbed out of his Mercedes after securing P3, the evident relief and satisfaction etched on Hamilton's face spoke volumes. "It's a big boost to finally get a good result. It's been a minute since I've been up here in the race." The significance of this result extends beyond just Hamilton's personal drought, however. It's a tangible sign that the once dominant Mercedes team is slowly but surely clawing its way back towards the front after a prolonged period of underwhelming performances. Hamilton was quick to praise the team's relentless hard work and a string of successful upgrades that have allowed them to reel in Ferrari and re-establish themselves as the third force behind Red Bull and McLaren. Despite Mercedes' upswing in fortunes, Hamilton was unequivocal in asserting that he has no regrets whatsoever about his decision to swap to the famous red overalls of Ferrari next year. "My job next year will be to start with the other team, and they are doing a great job." While acknowledging Ferrari's recent difficulties, the 39-year-old remained bullish about their prospects, pointing out their race win in Monaco just last month. However, Hamilton was also keen to pay tribute to his soon-to-be former employers. "I love Mercedes. I've been with Mercedes since I was 13, and I will always be a fan and a supporter of them." His words carried a tinge of nostalgia, reflecting on the incredible journey he and the team have been on together, culminating in 7 hard-earned world titles. Of course, Hamilton's path to the Barcelona podium was made all the trickier by the form of his teammate, George Russell. The young Briton pulled off one of the starts of the season, catapulting his Mercedes from 4th on the grid into an improbable lead on the opening lap. Hamilton, stuck behind Russell in the opening stint, had to exercise patience before finally executing a move on the outside of his stablemate on lap 52 to secure the final podium spot. While an internal team battle is never ideal for Mercedes, the sheer pace displayed by both drivers will surely have been cause for optimism within the Brackley-based outfit. If they can consistently have 2 cars operating at the sharp end, continuing their recent upward trajectory could become a reality. Let's begin by rewinding to the start of 2024. Max Verstappen was simply untouchable, blitzing the field race after race with his blisteringly quick RB20. The 3-time world champion seemed to be cruising to another title, cantering to easy victories while everybody else squabbled for the scraps behind. However, that stranglehold on dominance has rapidly diminished over recent months. Suddenly, Verstappen no longer looks invincible. In fact, he's having to rely on his elite driving abilities to squeeze maximum performance out of a car that no longer enjoys a clear-cut advantage. Crucially, Max Verstappen himself has effectively admitted Red Bull no longer holds a decisive pace advantage. In blistering comments after losing pole to Norris at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, the Dutchman urged his team to find more performance, stating bluntly, "We just lack some speed," compared to McLaren and others bringing more frequent upgrades. Verstappen warned that if he has to drive at 101% every race to compensate, it's only a matter of time before mistakes creep in. The catalyst for this power shift has been the sensational form of McLaren. After a dismal 2023, the Woking team's fortunes have been revived thanks to a raft of excellent upgrades, headlined by that game-changing package introduced in Miami. That gave the MCL38 a serious rebirth of competitiveness, that Lando Norris instantly capitalised on with a brilliant maiden win. Since then, McLaren has been a fixture on the podium and in the fight at the front. Their speed and race execution in Spain was just the latest evidence that they are now squarely in the mix to challenge Red Bull. So just how has Red Bull's intimidating package been reeled in so quickly? Well, the data points to them potentially hitting a development ceiling and encountering diminishing returns with its upgrade path. Rather than groundbreaking new concepts, recent updates have been relatively minor in scope. For Barcelona, it was just tweaks to the side pod inlet geometry, undercut contouring, and a new beam wing. All incremental stuff that pointed to an outfit struggling to extract bigger chunks of lap time. This view was inadvertently backed up by Chief Engineer Paul Monaghan, who used the technical term asymptoting to describe the difficulties in finding more pace under the restrictive regulations and budget cap. In simple terms, Red Bull may have maximised the performance potential of their current car concept, hitting that point on the development curve where improvements become increasingly marginal, an ominous prospect with such fierce competition. Let's not downplay how significant and exciting it is to have multiple teams operating at such a high level and in genuine contention for victories week in, week out. F1 has been crying out for a more competitive championship showdown after Red Bull's relentless period of dominance. You can sense the excitement from Verstappen too, who has praised the really good job McLaren has done to emerge as a constant threat capable of challenging at every track type. However, the flip side is this intensity has well and truly reignited the development race between the frontrunners. If Red Bull cannot find a way to regain a decisive edge over the coming months, we could be set for an epic multi-team scrap for wins. An intriguing prospect, but also one that will stretch resources and strategy to the max. In the immediate aftermath of the crash, Lando Norris didn't mince words when addressing Max Verstappen's driving. His scathing remarks painted a picture of a driver who had crossed the line, with Norris labelling Verstappen's actions as reckless and desperate. According to the young Briton, Verstappen was making multiple movements under braking, which is explicitly forbidden by the regulations, yet somehow managed to avoid proper penalties. Norris's words carried a sense of disbelief and frustration as he expressed his expectation of tough, fair, respectful racing that he felt he didn't receive. On the other hand, Max Verstappen vehemently denied any accusations of aggression or rule breaking. The reigning world champion insisted that he did not move under braking. He painted a different picture, characterising Norris's attacks as late dive bombs, where the McLaren driver was simply sending it up the inside and just hoping that the other guy steers out of it. In Verstappen's eyes, the incident was a consequence of the tight confines of the Red Bull Ring's Turn 3, rather than any malicious intent on his part. To fully grasp the crux of this controversy, we must delve into the details of the incident itself. Norris and Verstappen engaged in a tense battle for the lead toward the closing laps, with the McLaren driver launching multiple attacks on the tight uphill right-hander of Turn 3. On one occasion, Norris was forced to take evasive action and run wide after Verstappen moved across, an incident that the stewards deemed worthy of investigation for a potential breach of the rules prohibiting moving under braking. But it was the decisive moment that came when Norris attempted another pass on the outside of Turn 3. This time, as Verstappen moved to cover the inside line, the two cars made contact, resulting in punctures for both drivers, leaving Norris out of the race and Verstappen dropping down into fifth. The stewards ultimately ruled that Verstappen was to blame for causing the collision and not leaving him enough room, slapping him with a 10-second time penalty. While the penalty itself was a clear indictment of Verstappen's actions, its effectiveness is what's being hotly debated. McLaren's team principal, Andrea Stella, questioned whether the 10-second penalty truly fit the crime, considering that Verstappen ultimately extended his championship lead despite the sanction. Stella argued that the punishment was ineffective as it failed to adequately address the gravity of the incident, which left Norris out of the race and his car heavily damaged. The ramifications of this clash extend far beyond the confines of the Red Bull Ring. For McLaren, the fallout is not merely the lost points and missed podium opportunity. Norris's damaged car means crucial components will need to be replaced, potentially hampering the team's development efforts and upgrade plans due to the constraints of the budget cap. And the big concern is the lasting effects this has on their battle for the win in the Constructors' Championship. Behrman first caught the attention of the F1 world with his stellar debut for Ferrari at this year's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. With Carlos Sainz sidelined by illness, the 19-year-old stepped in as a last-minute replacement and absolutely seized the opportunity. Rising from 11th on the grid, he stormed through the field to finish an incredible 7th, a result that stunned paddock insiders and fans. Behrman's mature and composed drive in Jeddah drew lots of praise from some of the biggest names in the sport. Seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton lauded his brilliant racecraft and temperament under pressure. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc called it one of the most impressive debut performances I've ever seen. The consensus was clear. This was a generational talent announcing himself on the biggest stage. And now the American team Haas has moved decisively to secure Behrman's services from 2025 onwards on a multi-year contract. For the young Brit, it represents a dream opportunity to build his reputation and progress his blossoming career at the pinnacle of motorsport. Haas, meanwhile, will be looking to Behrman to help propel them towards the front end of the grid. Of course, Behrman's signing with Haas is no flash in the pan. His rise has been marked by consistent excellence in the Junior Formula E. After dominating the Italian F4 and ADAC F4 championships in 2021, he progressed swiftly to F3 in 2022 before making the jump to the feeder F2 series this year, where he has only claimed one sprint race win at the Red Bull Ring last weekend. This may come as a surprise to some, but the new Haas driver is actually 14th in the championship with just 28 points. And although he doesn't seem to be excelling in Formula 2, it's believed that this is down to his current team, Prema, struggling to come to terms with the new era of cars. With Behrman locked in at Haas, that still leaves 6 seats unconfirmed on the 2025 grid across Mercedes, RB, Alpine, Williams, Sauber, and the second Haas cockpit. The driver market dominoes continue to fall, with fascinating implications for the future talent pipeline. And once we hear where Carlos Sainz decides to go, the remainder of the seats should sort themselves out quite quickly. Haas have moved decisively to secure one of the hottest young properties in Behrman for 2025 and beyond. The former Ferrari Junior simply oozed star quality on his debut and seems to have the maturity and racecraft to thrive at the highest level. You'd be forgiven for approaching Mercedes' resurgence with some skepticism. The team has been extremely cautious about reading too much into isolated strong results, fearing each upswing could just be another anticlimax before they inevitably struggle again. George Russell's win at the Austrian Grand Prix is a prime example. While it was an amazing performance, we all know beating Red Bull was only possible because of the Norris-Verstappen collision. Yet even without that, Russell would have secured a third consecutive podium for the team. A streak like that simply wasn't possible over the past 18 months. Mercedes' caution is absolutely warranted after the false dawns we've seen them suffer through. Remember that brilliant Brazilian Grand Prix win back in 2022? At the time, the team genuinely thought they had finally cracked their understanding of the current ground effect regulations. But that high was traumatically short-lived, as they came crashing back down to earth at the start of 2023. Results like that gave them a completely warped perspective of where they really stood in the competitive order. So what makes this resurgence different? Well, according to Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff, there is finally a deep-rooted sense of understanding and direction within the team. He says the factory has been running on full steam, bringing upgrades to nearly every single race. Can you imagine that kind of intense, sustained development pace from Mercedes over the past few years? Wolff says he has never seen that in the team's 12 years of dominance. A big part of Mercedes' newfound progress has been their ability to get on top of the W15's on-track behaviour, according to Andrew Chauvelin. The car is inherently more balanced and predictable compared to its troublesome predecessors. Drivers aren't wrestling with oversteer or instability from minor changes in wind or temperatures. This more normal behaviour has drastically improved Mercedes' data correlation to their simulations. As Chauvelin explains, we didn't stand a chance before when even small variants could completely throw off the car's performance models. With an improved car and better correlation has come an exponential increase in learning and understanding from Mercedes' engineers. The intense Formula 1 calendar provides a constant fire hose of new data to feed the simulations after each race weekend. This allows the team to rapidly iterate their development work, with each new understanding compounding and building upon the last. The result is this remarkable snowballing of progress we're witnessing now. To address the severe bouncing issues caused by the updates introduced in Barcelona, Ferrari made the tough call to revert to their Imola aerodynamic specification for Silverstone. This decision, as candidly admitted by Carlos Sainz himself, cost the team a staggering 2 to 3 months' worth of vital development time. While their rivals like Red Bull, Mercedes and McLaren successfully upgraded their machinery, Ferrari found themselves markedly behind, grappling with the older package. Sainz stated with frustration, "We have basically the same car as in Imola, and since Imola everyone has upgraded, probably added 2/10 to the car, and we have had to revert. We have lost 2 or 3 months of performance gain in the wind tunnel, or performance we could have added in these 3 months. If reverting to the Imola specification wasn't damaging enough, Ferrari then compounded their woes with a disastrous strategic call for Charles Leclerc. As light rain started to fall, the team opted to pit the Monegasque driver for intermediate tyres far too early. Leclerc himself admitted he was given information suggesting heavy rain was imminent, but that never materialised, leaving him severely compromised on the wrong tyre compound. An annoyed Leclerc stated, "It was clearly the wrong strategy. I was told that in this lap the rain was going to be very heavy, so I stopped to try and anticipate. However, the rain came 8 or 9 laps later. That was obviously the end of our race from that moment onwards. Very frustrating. Another weekend to forget." Just when you thought Ferrari's situation couldn't get any worse, the team announced the departure of their respected chassis technical director, Enrico Cardile. The seasoned engineer, who played a pivotal role in developing Ferrari's recent challenges, has accepted an offer to join the ambitious Aston Martin outfit. This move comes at a critical juncture when the team is in need of engineering solutions to rectify the persistent issues that have plagued their 2024 car. Make no mistake, Ferrari's calamitous weekend at the British Grand Prix has severely dented their increasingly faint constructors' title aspirations this year. With the summer break fast approaching, you can be certain the Maranello-based squad will be feverishly analysing data and exploring avenues to resolve their multitude of problems. However, the deficit to frontrunners. Red Bull, McLaren and the resurgent Mercedes outfit continues to grow at an alarming rate with each passing race weekend. The harsh reality is that Perez's performances have been terrible in recent races. While his teammate Max Verstappen has been racking up a staggering 119 points, including 3 wins, Perez has managed just 15 points from the last 6 F1 rounds. This stark contrast highlights the growing disparity between the two drivers, and it's a situation that cannot be ignored. The British Grand Prix proved to be another low for Perez, as he finished a disappointing 17th after a qualifying session that saw him beach his car in the gravel in Q1, forcing him to start from the pit lane. A gamble to switch to intermediate tyres early in the race did not pay off, further compounding his struggles. Perez's recent form has been a far cry from his impressive start to the season, where he secured podium finishes in the opening races, including 2 second-place finishes in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. The Mexican driver's struggles have been particularly concerning given the competitive nature of this year's championship battle. With McLaren and Mercedes hot on Red Bull's heels, every point is crucial in the fight for the Constructors' Championship. Perez's inability to consistently score points has left Verstappen shouldering the burden alone at the front, making it increasingly difficult for Red Bull to maintain their lead. Jenson Button, a former F1 world champion himself, did not mince words when addressing Perez's predicament. In a blunt assessment, Button stated, "They can't let it go on forever. If at the next race he doesn't score points again, soon enough they will have to get him out of the car and put someone else in." Button understands the immense pressure that comes with driving for a top team like Red Bull, but he believes that changes will be inevitable if Perez fails to improve. The former champion's words carry significant weight, as he knows firsthand the high expectations and demands placed on drivers at the pinnacle of motorsport. Button's candid verdict highlights the ruthless nature of Formula One, where performance is the ultimate currency, and even the slightest dip in form can have severe consequences. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has acknowledged the gravity of the situation. Horner stated, "He knows it's unsustainable to not be scoring points. We have to be scoring points in that car. He knows his role and target. Nobody is more eager than Checo to find his form again." These words show the team's growing frustration with Perez's lack of results. While Red Bull recognises the driver's eagerness to turn things around, the harsh reality is that they cannot afford to carry a non-scoring driver if they hope to defend their Constructors' Championship lead. Horner's comments also hint at the potential consequences Perez may face if his poor form persists, with the team principal making it clear that scoring points is an absolute necessity. Horner's statement also reflects the intense pressure Red Bull faces from its rivals. With McLaren and Mercedes closing in on their lead in the Constructors' Championship, the team cannot afford to have one of their drivers consistently underperforming. Every point is crucial in the battle for supremacy, and Perez could prove to be a costly liability if this form continues. In Montreal at the Canadian Grand Prix, Norris was leading comfortably after a blistering start from pole position. However, a safety car period proved to be his undoing. McLaren inexplicably failed to pit him at the optimal time, leaving Norris out on aging tyres. and by the time he finally pitted, he had lost crucial track position to Verstappen and George Russell, ultimately settling for a second-place finish. The Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona saw another heartbreak for the young Briton. After securing a brilliant pole position, Norris made a poor getaway off the line, dropping to third behind Verstappen and Russell. Despite having the fastest car, he found himself stuck behind the Mercedes driver for over 10 laps, losing vital time to Verstappen. Despite closing the gap in the latter stages, Norris crossed the line just 2 seconds behind the Dutchman, left to rue his poor start and the lost opportunity to claim a second victory of the season for the McLaren team. At the Austrian Grand Prix in Spielberg, the on-track battle between Norris and Verstappen reached a boiling point. In the sprint race on Saturday, Norris briefly led after a daring move on Verstappen into turn 4, only to be repassed almost immediately by the Red Bull driver. The following day, a rare slow pit stop for Red Bull put Norris right on Verstappen's tail, and the two drivers raced aggressively, pushing each other to the absolute limit. Sadly, their intense battle ended in a collision at turn 3, forcing Norris to retire and handing Verstappen a fortunate 5th place after a stellar recovery drive. The most recent heartbreak for McLaren came at their home race, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Norris looked set for a famous victory, leading comfortably with just 14 laps remaining. However, a series of strategic blunders and pit stop errors by the McLaren team allowed Lewis Hamilton to undercut Norris for the lead during a crucial phase of the race. Inexplicably, the team also fitted the slower soft compound tyres to Norris's car, enabling Verstappen on the harder and more durable rubber to cruise past and relegate the McLaren driver to 3rd place, much to the disappointment of the passionate home crowd. Now that we've revisited the races where McLaren and Norris let potential victories slip through their fingers, let's break down the mistakes made by the driver, the team, and their strategies that proved costly in each of these pivotal moments. Strategy blunders, such as the missed pit window in Canada and the questionable tyre choice at Silverstone, played a significant role in denying Norris potential wins. At the highest level of motorsport, split-second decisions can make or break a race, and McLaren's strategic team has been found wanting on multiple occasions this season. Pit stop errors were also a recurring theme, with Norris overshooting his pit box at the British Grand Prix, costing him valuable time and track position. In a sport where margins are measured in fractions of seconds, such mistakes are simply unacceptable for a team with championship aspirations. On-track incidents like the collision with Verstappen in Austria further compounded McLaren's woes. While both drivers were pushing the boundaries of fair racing, Norris will undoubtedly rue his overly aggressive defence, which ultimately cost him a potential podium finish and valuable points in the championship. But what if McLaren and Norris had managed to capitalise on the opportunities that slipped through their fingers? Let's explore the hypothetical scenarios and how the championship standings could have looked had they avoided these costly errors and secured victories in those pivotal races. According to detailed analysis and simulations by leading F1 statisticians, had Norris won the races in Canada, Spain, Austria and Britain, he could potentially be just 26 points behind Verstappen at the halfway mark of the season. This would set up an absolutely mouth-watering second half of the year, with Norris firmly in the hunt for the Drivers' Championship and the thrilling prospect of a 2-horse race reminiscent of the unforgettable 2021 season. The hypothetical Drivers' Championship standings at the halfway point would have left Max Verstappen on 201 points and Lando Norris on 175 points. With Norris just a handful of points behind the defending champion, the stage would be set for an epic battle over the remaining races. The young Briton would have the momentum and confidence of multiple race wins, while Verstappen would be feeling the pressure of a renewed title challenge from a resurgent McLaren team. The Constructors' Championship would also tell a different story in this hypothetical scenario. While Red Bull would still lead the standings, McLaren could have been just 13 points behind, with Red Bull on 323 points and McLaren on 310 points. With such a narrow gap between the top two teams, every strategic decision, every pit stop and every on-track move would carry monumental consequences. The intensity and pressure would be amplified, testing the mettle of both teams and their star drivers. Of course, these are merely hypothetical scenarios, but they serve to highlight just how exciting the 2024 season could have been had McLaren and Norris seized their opportunities. The 2024 season began with Mercedes facing familiar challenges. The W15, like its predecessors, struggled with bouncing issues and rear tyre overheating, hinting at a potential continuation of the difficulties that had plagued the team since 2022. However, as we'll discover, this was merely the opening chapter of an extraordinary comeback story. Mercedes' trackside engineering director, Andrew Shovlin, provides crucial insight into the team's journey. He describes their progress as fairly long road, but it has been a road with pretty linear progress on it. This steady improvement wasn't by chance. It was the result of a meticulously planned and executed development strategy. From the season opener in Bahrain, Mercedes adopted a laser-focused approach. They scrutinized their performance gaps to the front-runners in both race pace and qualifying. The team's first major hurdle was the severe bouncing in high-speed corners, particularly evident in Jeddah. This phenomenon, reminiscent of their 2022 struggles, required immediate attention. Simultaneously, Mercedes grappled with rear tyre overheating, a persistent issue that significantly hampered their race performance. While Shovlin admits they haven't completely solved this problem, they've made substantial progress in bringing it under control. This improvement has been crucial in allowing the drivers to push harder for longer stints, a key factor in their recent success. The team's resurgence isn't solely attributed to solving these specific issues. Shovlin emphasizes that all the key performance areas of the business are delivering. This holistic approach encompasses advancements in aerodynamics, mechanical engineering, weight reduction, and a broader operating window for the car. The result is a more versatile W15, capable of performing consistently across various track conditions and setups. One of the most impressive aspects of Mercedes' development strategy has been their relentless upgrade program. Shovlin reveals that the team has been delivering 3 or 4 updates to almost every single race for about the last 8 or 9 races. This aggressive approach has allowed Mercedes to rapidly close the gap to their rivals, introducing a mix of mechanical and aerodynamic upgrades at an incredible rate. The cumulative effect of these upgrades became evident as the season progressed. The W15 evolved into a more drivable car, easier for the drivers to set up and extract performance from. This improvement was particularly noticeable in the last 4 or 5 races leading up to Silverstone, where Mercedes consistently hit the ground running from the first practice session. The team's progress manifested in tangible results. George Russell secured pole position in Canada, followed by the team's first podium of the year. Lewis Hamilton then stood on the rostrum in Spain, setting the stage for the back-to-back victories in Austria and Britain. The Silverstone success was particularly significant. Not only did it mark Hamilton's first win in 945 days, but it also demonstrated Mercedes' ability to compete at the highest level once again. The team's performance in the dry stint of the race surprised even themselves, as they were able to break away from the pack, a feat they hadn't achieved since their dominant years. The resurgence of Mercedes owes much to drivers Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. Their experience, feedback, and adaptability have been crucial in translating upgrades into on-track performance. Hamilton's wealth of experience has been invaluable. His detailed feedback on the car's behaviour has guided development direction. Following the Silverstone victory, Hamilton emphasised, "We're constantly feeding back to the team about what we're feeling in the car, where we think the limitations are. It's a constant dialogue between sessions, between races at the factory." Russell's fresh perspective and analytical approach complement Hamilton's experience. His standout performances, such as the pole position in Canada, have demonstrated the car's improving potential. Russell noted after the Austrian Grand Prix, "Every weekend we're learning more about the car, and I feel like I'm getting more and more comfortable with each update." Both drivers have had to continuously adapt their driving styles as the W15's handling characteristics evolved with each upgrade. This adaptability has been key in translating the car's improved potential into race results. Toto Wolff acknowledged the driver's contribution. "Both Lewis and George have been instrumental in our comeback. Their feedback, their ability to push the car to its limits, and their unwavering belief in the team have been driving forces behind our progress." And there you have it, the rollercoaster ride that's been the first half of this Formula One season. As we head into the summer break, the championship battle is far from over. With crucial races still to come, anything can happen. Who will emerge victorious? Which team will make the crucial improvements? And what surprises await us in the second half? Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more F1 updates. See you in the next one.